My, oh my, what a loaded show on a Wednesday. Welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined as always by the GM, Saul Bookman. And Saul, we got a very special guest today.
Absolutely, man. I'm hyped about this guy, man, for real.
Absolutely. Let me introduce senior NFL draft analyst for the Draft Network. He's a 2019 national champ with the LSU Tigers, LSU football Tigers, when he was the lead of personnel, Mr. Keith Sanchez. Keith, thanks for jumping on today.
Oh, what's up, man? How y'all doing?
Man, that's an intro right there, man.
I know. I like it. That might have been my best one thus far, being on this media side. So I might have to hire Johnny to introduce me.
We aim to please. We aim to please, Keith. We're super fired up. This is a big day for the Cardinals because really they're struggling right now in the perspective of a lot of fans. We got to fill some holes in the draft.
All the time.
We got our draft expert here.
Guys falling every single day. It's going to be all right, Johnny. I keep telling you, come back off the ledge. It's all right.
I can't do it. Before we talk the nuts and bolts of the Cardinals in the draft, Keith, would you mind just giving us a little insight how you got into the scouting game?
From college perspective or with the Draft Network?
Draft Network.
Yeah,
the Draft Network. Yeah, okay. So I left LSU at the beginning of the 2021 season. So right before this season started, it just kind of had a change of heart of, what direction I wanted to go with my football career, just working in football. So after that, I left. Initially, it was to go to law school. Just because of everything happening with the NIL stuff, I knew there was going to be a lot of change, right? And if I was going to better myself and just understanding and getting a grasp of college football, I thought having an in-depth understanding of contractual law would really help me and benefit me. So that was part of my reasoning in leaving. And then in leaving, I knew that I still wanted to work in football, right? Like I knew that, that's where my heart was, that where my passion was. And then just having that, I guess you would say transition, right? Just staying in football, because it's one of those things, if you get out of tune with it for 2-3 years, the game has totally changed, right? So I just wanted to make sure that I stayed intertwined with everything. So me and the Draft Network had conversations. I sat down with our director of scouting, Kyle Krabs, and he talked about their process, because I knew leaving LSU, and just the caliber that we were operating in, I wanted to go to a company that had that same caliber, right? Like just had a championship standard of performance, a championship mindset, and that's what the Draft Network has. So just the process of scouting at the Draft Network was very similar to I guess processes that I've seen within NFL front offices and also in college football. So I was like, you know what, this is a pretty good fit for me. And then along came the media part of it too, which was brand new for me, which was something I wasn't used to, but I'm enjoying it thus far.
Keith, that's quite a journey that you just had, going from, personnel over at LSU. And I'm sure the evaluation process, obviously, it's going to be a little bit different when you're maybe scouting high schoolers coming into the college game versus college game going to the NFL. What is the biggest difference that you notice between the two, outside, obviously, just the youth and inexperience?
Man, so college to the NFL, I would say, is probably more scheme specific. Like you really have to make sure these players are going to good situations. Like I feel as though, and we've seen that with Trevor Lawrence, right? Like there's no for sure prospect. Like, you can damn near ruin any prospect if you put him in a bad situation. And that's just because the caliber of talent in the NFL is so high. So you have to surround them with pieces. So I think that's been the biggest thing with college to NFL. Then high school to college, the biggest thing is that these kids grow, right? Like you get a kid and they may come in there at 5'10" and they may leave at 6'3" or something, like depending on who their mother or father was. So just trying to project where these kids will fill out. I mean, we've had safeties come in LSU that would be 6'1", 190 pounds, and it's like, okay, that kid moves really well. Then they get in the weight room, put on some weight, get that grown man physique to them, and then they leave there at 235 and they can't run nowhere near the same way. And so you kind of have to project that, like, okay, like, is this guy going to get too big? So it's two different, I guess, angles you have to approach it.
Keith, I want to get your opinion on something that is very much a hot button topic here in the Valley. Kyler Mury, all things Kyler Mury. From your outsider's perspective now, because we've watched a lot of teams, quarterback purgatory. It's not, unknown that this draft class at quarterback, not great. And the Cardinals are in a position where I feel like they're in a hamstrung. They got to pay their young quarterback. What would you do with Kyler Mury right now? Would you pay him? Would you let it play out? What do you think?
Man, this is so tough because I've been listening to, I guess you would say, mainstream media, and some people's perception has been that the Arizona Cardinals have leverage in this situation as far as the front office. But I don't think so. Like, I think Kyler has a lot of leverage. Like, you drafted him number 1 overall, and this team is essentially built around him. Like, you hire your head coach because of him, like, because they come from similar offenses. So Kyler has a lot of leverage in this. So, man, just I'm gonna get to the paying part first, but I kind of wanted to talk about the situation within the GM, the head coach, and him. I thought it was very interesting that they paid the GM and the head coach and extended them, and it was in the midst of Kyler Mury saying, "I'm unhappy." And I doubt that he would have went through all of that just to get his GM and his head coach paid, right? Like, he could have easily just said, "Hey, just go pay my head coach and my GM, and I'm good." So it's almost like the owner chose a side, and then they're going to just talk to Kyler to see if he jumps on the train or not. And if he don't, it seems as though they may be willing to part ways, which is scary to do. Because like you said, like there are 20, 21 teams in quarterback purgatory, to where they wish that they had a talented quarterback. So saying that I just want to get rid of this guy, that's a tough thing to do. So Kyler has leverage, and I think that you have to pay him, right? Unless you can find a viable option. I know there were rumors about Deshawn Watson. I don't know how true those were. If you can swap out another high caliber quarterback for a high caliber quarterback and you don't feel like dealing with the headaches, then you can go for it. But where do you turn from here? I think that's the thing. Like, Carson Wentz is a hot commodity right now, right? Like, people are seeking Carson Wentz and Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, he didn't try to throw every interception he could possibly have. But that lets you know where the quarterback market is right now. So it's tough.
When you look at Kyler, from our perspective, obviously we're close to it. Watching him play down the stretch, he wasn't as electric, wasn't as dominant as he was the first part of the season last year. When you watch that playoff game, and this is what I've said all the time about Kyler, he was shook. He was shook in that game. Like, I don't think that you can really debate that. What did you see from Kyler that might give you pause on giving him 40, 45, 50 mil a year? Because that's what I'm sure he's clamoring for right about now.
Yeah, I seen a young guy that was shook too, but rightfully so, right? Like, this is his first NFL, if I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry. This is his first NFL playoff game. And
yeah.
We forget that they're humans. Like, they're regular people. Like, sometimes they stand on the field and they see 100,000 people, just like we see 100,000 people. And so, like, of course he was nervous. I would say this too, though. I don't know if the Cardinals necessarily helped him out a whole lot as far as just putting the ball in his hands. Like, you have a young quarterback, why not try to get the running game going? And watching that game with the Rams, you seen Sean McVay do that. Like, the Rams made a concerted effort to run the football. And you have an experienced quarterback in Matthew Stafford who has playoff playoff experience, but Sean McVay still knew that, hey, we have to run the football to get Matt Stafford comfortable, because it's a lot of pressure. So I think philosophy-wise, Kyler, he was obviously nervous and he had a couple boneheaded plays But I think he needs a run game, and that's okay, right? That's okay to have a quarterback that needs a run game from time to time.
Absolutely. More support of Kyler Mury, I think, could come at receiver, and the Cardinals wisely avoided paying Christian Kirk ungodly generational wealth like the Jacksonville Jaguars just did. So the Cardinals need a new number 2, not expected to re-sign A.J. Green. We'll see what they do in free agency. Who do you like as a potential target in the draft this year? Maybe that could be available, pick 23 for the Cardinals.
Right. So at pick 23, it's crazy just how things go, right? Because week 3 of the season, there was no way in hell that the Cardinals was taking a wide receiver just because of the way that offense was humming. But you fast forward 6-7 months. The guy that I would have my eyes on and who I believe may be the best wide receiver in this draft is Jahan Dotson. I think he's a really good number 2 guy. Like, he's explosive. He can take the top off. He plays every position for this Penn State offense, and he's kind of flying under the radar for whatever reason, right? But I think that's why he has a possibility to fall to the Cardinals. So that I would definitely look at him. I mean, you have wide receivers like Jameson Williams coming off ACL injury, and what I would tell people is this: like, sports science has changed. It has evolved. He tore his ACL in, I believe that was January, in the national championship game. Normal ACLs take anywhere from like 6 to 8 months. So that's putting him at August. So there's a possibility that you would have him ready for the season, at least 3-4 years into the season. So I think that's 3-4 games into the season. I think he's a special talent, though, Jameson Williams.
In your estimation, in this year's draft class, what is stronger, offensive line or defensive line / edge rushers?
Ooh, man.
Yeah.
I would say
we didn't want to throw you the easy questions now.
yeah, that was tough. That was tough. So I'm gonna say this: it's probably defensive line edge rushers, just because offensive line is top heavy, right? When you have your Trevor Pennings, you have your Ike McWanus, you have your Evan Nils, Charles Cross. I think it's those 4 top guys. And it goes from basically like first round grades to kind of bottom, second, third round grades. Like, it's not a big middle tier, but for edge rushers, I could probably roll off 15 names, that you feel comfortable about getting an edge rusher, whether that be at the, back end of the second round, middle of the second round, top of the second round, and all throughout the first round. So I would say edge rushers.
I'm going to put you on the spot. Cardinals made their lone move of free agency today. External signing, that is. And the optics on it, not great. They signed former Minnesota Vikings first-round pick of 2020, Jeff Gladney. If you remember, Jeff went to TCU, played his whole rookie season, was out last year, was arrested and indicted on domestic assault, was found not guilty earlier this month. Cardinals are bringing him in, 2-year deal. Do you remember scouting Jeff when you were at LSU? Do you remember the tape on him? I'm only optimistic based on, Mike Zimmer, defensive coach. He played a lot as a rookie. He's going to come in by and large with the Cardinals and be expected now to compete for a top 2 cornerback job. Any insight on Jeff?
Yeah, so I remember scouting him towards, obviously I was at LSU, so I wasn't doing NFL scouting, but I remember scouting him going into the draft because that's just something we did at LSU. And I remember he was a talented player. Like, some things he was a little bit raw in, but him going to the Vikings, like you said, with Mike Zimmer, I thought that he would be able to get the best out of him, and just what Mike Zimmer is known to do as far as developing defensive backs and also just putting together a good defense. The off the field issues kind of worry you a little bit.
Yeah.
But you see these teams and they kind of go into the offseason with a theme, right? Every team does. And it seems like the Cardinals they're real hesitant to kind of go all in right now. Like, they're trying to just kind of pick their spots and, try to get more value picks. I would say they're value shopping right now. Yeah. So if you're able to put him in a new environment, hopefully you get the best out of him, and then you get a number 2 corner. I remember he did have a lot of talent, but that's tough because, like you said, when you balance the off the field issues, and I've heard Phoenix is a fun place from time to time.
That's because you got Paige in your ear. That's why.
Yeah, that's definitely what it is. I get a request to move to Phoenix probably once a week.
Well, real quick, going back to that, I always say that teams are in their ethics, right? Their teams and their ethics are only as faithful as their options, right? When you look at like a team like Philadelphia back in the day, no quarterback, desperate, needed to find somebody to replace Donovan McNabb. They ended up going with Michael Vick. And he came with a lot of baggage, obviously, we all know. Same thing's going on right now with Deshaun Watson. The teams that are desperate for Deshaun Watson are teams that are quarterback starved, or at least feel like they're on the verge of being in quarterback purgatory. So like you got your Falcons, the Saints, and stuff like that. When it comes to Gladney, what kind of programs do you think these teams put together to try and help kind of curb not only the PR perspective, but to help the individual?
Right. So I know I can speak from college perspective, and then just having a lot of scouts in the building. Obviously, we talked about character. Like that was a number one thing. Because they always approached it like, hey, y'all around these guys all the time, right? Like they have school, they have structure. He's like, now, when you go to the NFL, I'm about to hand a kid millions of dollars and I only see him 5 months out the year. So he has 7 months to do whatever the hell he wants to, right? So character is a big thing. And then just talking from LSU perspective, we had a player development staff, and player development is a holistic approach to their life, right? That's worrying about their finances. You get to know that their parents, so you kind of understand what makes them tick, and you understand like what's bringing out the worst version of them, because it could be attached to certain friends, right? Like friends that they don't, the old cliches like, man, you got this money and then you changed, and then sometimes you have to tell those guys like, it was right that you changed. You know what I'm saying? Like you're in a new environment. That's natural as a human. So that was some of the things we did. And then just, you were bringing other guest speakers too, to sit these guys down. Like, hey, you can go down this path and it can happen very fast to where you're out of the NFL. And you got to understand it. Like, so there's money, and you on this path to success can easily get derailed. Right. So I think that's the thing. They have to really, put their arms around him and get to know him as a person. And the NFL is a transactional business, but when you get into situations like this, you have to extend yourself. You can't treat this like a transactional business, because you can lose out on your transaction if this guy gets in trouble again. So you just have to understand what you're getting into.
So Keith, I need you to talk a lot of us off the ledge as it relates to the Cardinals' first round pick last year. I'm a fan of Zaven Collins, University of Tulsa, first round pick 16 last year. Didn't play very much. Didn't play very much at all. Oh no! Oh no!
Keith's first reaction.
Yeah, because I don't know how much good news I'm gonna have for you.
Hit me with it. We're an honest, objective show. What they're gonna keep him an inside backer. I asked Cliff Kingsbury this 2 weeks ago at the combine. They're not moving him to edge rusher. I thought he would have been a better edge rusher. They're gonna keep him at inside backer with Isaiah Simmons. What is the state of this inside linebacking room right now? Because they get rid of Jordan Hicks, who 2 minutes later is with the Vikings now. No Chandler Jones now. A little dicey for the Cardinals defensively.
Yeah, so I was speaking on Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons. They were similar players in the sense of the fact of they were great athletes for their size, right? But every great athlete isn't a great football player. So that's when I watch the film, I need to know if you can make plays that's conducive to playing this position, right? Like if you're at linebacker and you're making plays that would translate to you being a good corner, then I can't put you at linebacker, right? So when you watch the film of Zaven Collins, he was a really good athlete, and his splash plays were turnovers. But when I need you to play the run, come downhill, take on the offensive guard, and shed blockers to make the tackle, I didn't see a lot of that. So I'm looking at this from the perspective of, with being a film evaluator, that Zaven Collins is exactly what he was at Tulsa, right? And the fact that you have to develop him. So I think that's kind of knowing what you're getting into, but just expecting a guy, if he didn't do it in college, then he's just going to get to the NFL at the highest caliber of football and then turn it on. It's kind of, I don't know, why would you expect that, right? But
yeah, not realistic.
Yeah, it's not realistic, but the development part, he can get better. And I would say that I had similar feelings towards Isaiah Simmons. I thought he was a really good athlete, but was a positionless player. But I would say this, that Isaiah Simmons took those steps this year. So it's all about development, getting the defensive coordinator, develop those guys, and if they want it bad enough. A lot of it's going to come to their individual wants as players.
Keith, before we let you go, go ahead.
Now, I was about to say, I don't know if I talked Johnny off the ledge or not. I hope it was just
here's the problem that we get.
He's certainly giving it a second thought.
Keith, we don't take enough players in this. Isaiah Simmons is an outlier, went to Clemson, national champion. We don't take enough players from the LSUs or the Ohio States, guys with floors of you just know what you're getting. Really good starters, ready-made. We take guys like Zaven Collins, Hassan Reddick, once upon a time, Temple guys, smaller school guys. So when my man Saul wants to take this wideout from North Dakota State or whatever,
Christian Watson is good, son.
I don't want that anymore. Give me Power 5 elite top prospects. I can't deal with it anymore. I'm numb to it now.
Yeah, I understand that, and that may be a philosophy. And it's interesting hearing you say that, because I've actually heard people say the opposite way, that they don't want players from these big time programs because they feel like they're quote unquote pampered and they've already been, I guess, tapped out, right? They already, what they're getting. But like you said, that kind of gives you a good floor. At least you know what you're getting instead of just opening that kind of surprise box and who knows.
Our best player went to Oklahoma, was a Heisman Trophy winner. Just roll with that. That's our best player.
And Kurt Warner went to Northern Iowa. Johnny, stop.
Ask your question.
Stop. Bring that question back up, Leah. We got a question in the chat says, but how much is a rookie player's success at the NFL stalled by bad coaches? As a prior athlete, I found myself with coaches that have no idea how to position you for success. How much is that prevalent, Keith?
A lot. And to answer that, it's a lot. Like some, and it sounds crazy to say that some coaches may not know what they're doing, or even know how to get the best out of a player. But I always say this: coaching is teaching, and if you can't teach, you can't coach. Like, it's one thing to get up to the whiteboard and be able to draw up a scheme, right? But that's drawing up schemes. That's simply drawing X's and O's and arrows. But can you teach your player how to do that? Can you teach your player how to play the position? And some of the best coaches I've been around have been the best communicators. They know how to teach and they know how to communicate. And then they know that how I get the best out of Saul may not be how I get the best out of Johnny. So they know what makes you tick. And that's the thing, that it's a real life approach to it. I think, and I'm getting on my soapbox a little bit, but when we get into the hiring process of coaches, we always try to find the best X's and O's guy. Like, man, he really, he runs that 12 personnel a lot, and that's really good. But it's like, that's but one thing. Like, you can find anybody to open a playbook and memorize a play, but it's like, how does he communicate that to the players and get them to buy in and develop those guys? So to answer this question, it's a good bit, man. It's a good bit.
Keith, we can't thank you so much for your time today.
I got one more question.
Oh, okay.
I have to ask this question because my guy went to LSU. He was in the program. You gotta give me a Coach O story. Like, you gotta give me something that was kind of crazy about Coach O.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't have a story right off the top of my head.
Okay,
I promise.
all right.
I
Maybe
promise
next
I
time.
don't. Listen,
Maybe next time.
Something may come to me, and then I'll shoot you a text, or I'll call you, and then we can talk about it. We can definitely talk
off the record. There are always the best stories anyway, so that's all right.
Yeah, that's where you get the best. You get the best information.
Keith, we've been so fired up to have you on all week. We hope to do it again. Keith Sanchez, senior NFL draft analyst, 2019 Natty champion, former lead personnel for the LSU football Tigers. Thanks so much for jumping on.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Oh, man, I appreciate y'all having me on, man. Y'all doing some good things over here.
I appreciate it. Cool. Keith.
Good stuff, man.
In the house, man. Love it.
Man,
hey, that was fantastic, man. Yeah, yes. I like how, Keith, we ran into him at the Combine, and I had actually followed him on Twitter. He followed me back, but we never got to hook up. And then we got to the airport and we ran into
5 in the morning.
And we started chatting. It was like, it was 5 o'clock in the morning, and you would think, like, dude, I'm barely waking up. Like, don't talk to me right now. But he was cool as hell and real cordial, and was like, I'd be happy to come on. And like, one of my favorite guys already, man. I love him.
Well, one of the things I can commend you on, Saul, people don't know in the chat, is Saul's always looking to build relationships. We respect a lot of what the Draft Network does.
Absolutely.
Keith in particular, we hope to be able to give you those kind of insights. So we just can't give you. That those guys study the tape and grind it out to be able to give you the best possible product on this show, so we can all get educated.
And really, let's be honest. Like, listen, we're a 2-man team right now, and we're gonna grow soon, hopefully. And we got Frank in the fold. We got 3, and but what I will say is like, we do our very best to try and scout and break down film or whatever. Those guys, that's all they do for 12 months of the year. They're 20 to 30-man team. That's all they do is break down film, break down prospects, travel around the country, take a look, talk to coaches. Like, they're almost like an NFL level organization on the scouting, sphere. And they get the access to be able to do a lot of these things as well because of what they have built at the Draft Network. And so you love to have good people on to really share their knowledge and understand what we bring to the table, what they bring to the table, and how we can make it both work. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. NFL AZ Cardinals, we're going to get to trashing Jordan Phillips here in a hot minute.
Yes, absolutely.
But I do want to remind everybody the teams have been selected for the biggest tournament of the year. There's only a few days left to join in the action before the first teams tip off. On Thursday, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving customers a shot to bet just $5 on any team to win $200 in free bets. If they do, it's that simple. They win, you win. DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also bet on college hoops, same game parlays, combine multiple bets from the same game for an even bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. It's a call to action. Use that promo code PHNX, bet $5 and win $200 in free bets. 21 and over, Arizona only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customer only, minimum $5 deposit. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. All right, so we teased the lead a little bit with our man Keith. Cardinals have made a move. They're bringing in former first-round pick, the Minnesota Vikings, Jeff Gladney out of the University, Texas Christian University, former first-round pick. I want to bring that graphic up again, Leah, if we could. Gladney was, I wouldn't call him a standout in 2020, but look at those snaps logged. He had almost 1,000 snaps for a team that was on the verge of the playoffs with a defensive head coach that was, they were building their secondary, their cornerback position around him. It was because of the fact, Saul, that he got arrested and missed last year, that they had to pivot and sign Patrick Peterson on a whim. This was the guy in their secondary. Not a perfect prospect, was just found not guilty of domestic violence earlier this month. So what did the Cardinals do? They came in, they, according to multiple reports, had him over for a visit yesterday. So he's been in their building. They've gotten their hands on him. This was not done over the phone or via Zoom. They vetted him, and now they've secured him. 2-year deal, according to John Gambadaro. There was a ton of teams after him, including the LA Rams in your own division. This is going to be a move if the off-the-field stuff, we're not downplaying that. It's awful, right? But if he can prove to have quality character with the Cardinals, this is a first-round talent that you're getting a corner. This is somebody that's going to immediately plug and play in the starting lineup with Marco Wilson and Byron Murphy. Your initial reaction to the move?
Oh man, with these things, it's always a conflict, right? Like you battle the personal side of things. You appreciate the fact that in life sometimes people need second chances.
Yeah.
But you also understand the severity by what he did, and you can't downplay that. That you can't downplay that.
Yeah.
If we're just talking football, I think it's a very smart, efficient signing. You're taking kind of a flyer on hoping that, he can put the past behind him and, redeem himself to a degree on the field and give you, what he gave that first year in Minnesota. That's where you're taking a gamble on. And I think these are the types of deals, character or not related, that the Cardinals will be seeking from this point forward. Like they're going to take some chances. They are. And I think Jeff Gladney basically gives you what Byron Murphy gives you. And if you can get that, and I think if you can get that, you're in really good shape because Byron Murphy is a good football player. And if you have more Byron Murphys, you're going to be all right. From a football perspective, I'm happy with that decision. From a personal decision, it's still a conflict, and I don't know the details, and I'm not going to sit here. I will tell you this. This is what I will not do. I will not sit here and not know what all the details were, not know what all the intricacies were, how this all unfolded, how this all went down, and just assume one way or the other. I'm not going to do that. I will just sit there. The court of law said that he's not guilty. That doesn't mean he's a perfect guy. That doesn't mean he doesn't have to redeem himself. But I'm not going to judge the guy because I don't even know. I have no idea. So I'm just going to judge him as a football player because that's all I know.
Yeah, and I think that's the right decision. Certainly not clean slate, and he'll have a press conference with the team. He'll be asked these questions. Phoenix Suns 22 asked, will he be suspended by the NFL? Maybe, but he missed all of last year. He was found not guilty. The Vikings cut him. I mean, they had to, when you have to eat a first-round pick after 1 year, that's about as bad as it gets for an NFL team. And they did not want to lose this young man. He was part of their future in their secondary that they have not replaced yet. So if I had to guess, maybe 2 games. But again, if I'm him and I say to the league, I was found not guilty, on what grounds can you suspend me? Maybe there's just no appetite. The Cardinals signed him to a 2-year deal. That tells you he's part of their future in the secondary. This is not a one-off flyer that happened in July or August just to kind of tread the water with during the season. This is not a one-off. No, this is this is a cornerstone piece potentially if the off-the-field stuff is what it is. It's awful, and if he screws up again, certainly the Cardinals will cut him, and that'll be his NFL career.
Yeah,
but if he go ahead,
the brilliance of the 2-year deal is if he comes in year 1 and absolutely kills it, just absolutely.
That's possible.
Like he just absolutely does a great job on the field. Then you still got that second year to negotiate a longer term deal under your own, and you have more salary cap to play with next year. So it's a brilliant move. I'm sure that 2-year deal was not massive. We haven't seen the numbers on it yet. But so I think it's a smart signing. It's a smart risk because, listen, you didn't want to go after a big whale out there in free agency to come in at cornerback. You couldn't really afford that. So you needed to get somebody that gives you a lot of bang for your buck. And I think this is what that's going to do. Plus, you eliminate the fact that he can go to the Rams, he can go to the Niners, he can go to the Seahawks or anything like that within your division. So it helps you defensively. I think it's a smart move.
It is. He was cut, for those of you who don't know, so it does not affect the Cardinals, what we think a very comp-heavy offseason into next year. He's somebody I would imagine in 2020 the Cardinals probably would have drafted him had he fallen to the second round in 2020, although they didn't have a second round pick. So he was never really an option for them. They took Isaiah Simmons in the top 10. DeAndre Hopkins was traded away to the Cardinals for their second, David Johnson. So I'm sure this was a player that they coveted. And they looked at the tape with Minnesota. I'm sure they contacted Mike Zimmer and talked to him. And this is a move. This is the ultimate risk reward, emphasis on reward. This is a first round player. I looked up his scouting reports last night and this morning. This is somebody that Lance Erling at NFL.com said Sidney Jones pre-injury, ball hawker, physical. Saul mentioned can do the corner blitz. Who does that sound like? Exactly what Saul described in Byron Murphy. Then you've got Marco Wilson in year 2. The Cardinals secondary is young and athletic, and that doesn't behoove them from bringing back Robert Alford. It's the front 7 that I'm concerned about.
Marco Wilson is going to have a major jump from year 1 to year 2.
Absolutely.
I really believe that. I think Byron Murphy understands that he's on the cusp of being a big time player, and I hope that he makes that Buda Baker style jump to being an elite level corner. He's one of the most physical corners in the NFL. And I think if he can, kind of finesse his technique a little bit more, he's going to be elite. He really will be. I truly believe in Byron Murphy. And that's the other thing, right? You see Byron Murphy and then you compare him to his counterpart, Christian Kirk, and you see their development. And I can see the trajectory of Byron Murphy as opposed to the trajectory of Christian Kirk, where I felt like it was kind of plateaued. So I'm comfortable. I'm not satisfied yet, but I'm pretty comfortable with the Cardinals secondary right about now. I feel confident in that group. Now, when we get to the linebackers and the front 4,
got some issues.
Speaking of front 4, Johnny.
Yeah. Let's
talk about
that transition.
Let's talk about that guy, huh?
You take the lead. I'm upset.
Jordan Phillips.
Okay,
man. I just. There's a lot of things to be said about how you handle yourself in situations. And when you get paid a lot of money to play a sport and you don't really live up to that contract because you're always hurt, you're always banged up, you're out doing stuff that's causing yourself to miss time on the field, and then you want to bag on that team because you want to go back to where you had all that success, where it was all roses and sunshine, apparently, in Buffalo. Like, bro, that is so classless. It just is. It just is. Like, Jordan Phillips should be absolutely ashamed of himself for the way he just handled this entire thing. He did this to himself. Nobody did this to him. He did this to himself. And then he wanted to bag the Cardinals for it. Get the fuck out of here, dog.
As Jordan says, he robbed us, and then puts that caption. Well, what happened was he was a scheduled free agent. He was on a contract year, and he had 9.5 sacks in a contract year because he chose to work hard that year. And he came to Arizona for 2 seasons. I can't even remember now. I blocked so much of that, I think, and proceeded to just wet the bed. And he has so much God-given ability. When you're that big and can move that well as a big man, that's the difference between many differences, but one in particular of an Aaron Donald, who is just shredded, six-pack. No one works harder, right? That's why you're an all-time great. You've got the complete package. Jordan Phillips, to me, just came across as lazy, somebody that just lived in the training room, got his money.
Jordan Phillips is the Walmart Eric Swan is what he is.
I think it's the reason now the Cardinals are very hesitant to pay a big money contract, especially on the defensive line. Maybe there's some value plays out there. Go find the next Corey Peters. Absolutely. But not JJ Watt's kind of an outlier. He's hurt. He's always been hurt. That happened last year. We knew it was a possibility. They went out and signed Darius Philon from the Chargers once upon a time. He didn't even make it to the season. He got arrested outside a strip club. They gave him good money. And then they doubled down and went Jordan Phillips, and that was a disaster. This team will all continue to beat this drum on the defensive line. Saul, with you, they need to take a defensive tackle in the first or second round this year, assuming one is worth taking. They need to develop. They need to develop a 20 or 21-year-old to come in and be an ass kicker alongside Watt and Zach Allen. Zach Allen's a nice player. Hopefully, a number 2 defensive lineman at some point. He's not a number 1. They need to stay away from this market. It has not treated them well. It just hasn't.
Listen, I'm okay with a prove it 1-year deal. If they can find a guy for a prove it 1-year deal, even if the guy flops, at least it's only 1 year. He's gone. That's the problem with the Jordan Phillips signing. It was a three years of nothing. 3 years of nothing. 3 years of nothing but hope that he would be something or do something. It's like that meme, the stick, where the guy's like, "Come on, do something." You know what I mean? Like, that's exactly what this was. We all hoped that Jordan Phillips would do anything, and the biggest thing Jordan Phillips did was give a big, giant middle finger to this entire organization and its fan base on the way out the door. You classless fuck.
Terrible. Lazy, slob kebab. Not good. Slob kebab.
Somebody said a Walgreens version of Kimdichi, and I just about laughed.
Oh, man. You hate to see it, but you love to see it at the same time. I want to remind everybody, children 5 and older are eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. The best vaccine is the best we have to reduce the chances of getting sick with COVID-19. COVID-19 vaccine can reduce the risk of being hospitalized or even dying from the disease. It's safe, free, and highly effective, and COVID-19 vaccines are available throughout Arizona. Visit azhealth.gov/find vaccine for a location nearest to you. I thought where you were going at the beginning of that last segment was to talk about Chandler Jones' departure. I'm not happy about it. I would have re-signed him. He leaves. He goes to the Las Vegas Raiders. 3 years, over $50 million. Your initial reaction to that? I knew that was coming.
Listen, man. You think I care about Chandler Jones getting basically 12.5 a year? I want to know how much is guaranteed. I haven't seen that yet.
We don't have those numbers yet. No, I would imagine.
That's the thing. That's the other thing. Because if you sit there and tell me that Chandler Jones signed a 4-year, $51 million deal, cool, awesome. But if then you tell me he only got like 10 mil guaranteed, yeah, that's you're lucky if you see that. He's not seeing 51. There's just no way. The Raiders might cut him after year 1.
You're down on him more than most. I would say
Dude, you're talking $12.5 million a year. You think he's worth that?
Oh yeah, for double-digit sacks.
That's $1 million a sack.
That's fine. I'll pay 20 mil. I'll pay 20 mil for 20 sacks.
Yeah. I think everybody would pay 20 mil for 20 sacks, but we didn't get 20 sacks. Now, did we, Johnny?
Espo is saying, he just texted me, the guaranteed money is $34 million. 17 and a half million.
Oh my God. Oh, the Raiders got fleeced. Oh my God.
Salt.
34? Oh my God, Chandler, you fucking go, son. Hell yeah. 34 mil? Raiders, are you stupid? Oh,
well, they
damn.
have that owner with a bowl cut for a reason.
Oh my God. Oh shit. Oh, it's a 3-year deal? I thought it was a 4-year deal.
No, it's the first year was like, or that last year was like a phantom year, so it's been whittled down to 3.
52.5 and 34 guaranteed. Oh my God, Chandler, you know what? I fucking had this wrong. I like you. I like you a lot. Like, go get your fucking money. Hey, if any team is out there wanting to pay $34 million to Chandler Jones, let him. Let him.
Von Miller just signed with the Buffalo Bills. That's a huge loss to the LA Rams. Cardinals still without a pass rush. With all due respect.
That means it was 17.5, Johnny. You still paying 17.5 for Chandler Jones?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, Johnny. Are you
who's rushing the passer for them?
I don't care if you rush the passer. We're not doing 17.5, man. Not for that.
Von Miller to the AFC, Chandler Jones. Get all the good players to the AFC. Zadarius Smith. I'm all about that. Zadarius Smith, Baltimore Raven, Von Miller, a Buffalo Bill. Wow. The Cardinals did have a press conference today with Dennis Gardeck. If that will whet anybody's appetite. I love Gardeck, special teamer, depth guy. I'm sorry, that was over the line.
Come on, man. I like Dennis Gardeck. Listen, like Dennis Gardeck does not deserve your disrespect. He busts his ass out there on the field. He might not be an elite level player, but he's a good player. And we're not going to disrespect good players. Just the ones that are on their way out the door. Bye.
Goodbye, Chandler Jones. I will miss you when you're, lighting up the likes of the AFC West. God, Russell Wilson can't just escape Chandler Jones to save his life, can he? Poor guy. Okay, so the Cardinals have a huge glaring need. I don't want to gloss over the fact they re-signed Max Williams, 1-year contract. I feel
good signing.
Yeah. And he wanted to come back. And I feel like anytime you tell Michael Bidwell, like, I will come back and play for the Cardinals, Michael Bidwell will re-sign you. I just feel like he wants people that want to be Cardinals. And of course, that's a good mantra, assuming you don't ask for generational money. People are saying Von got 6 years for $120 million. That's not real.
No.
Is that real?
No, that can't possibly be real.
Yes. They said 6 years, $120 million. Now we need to see the guarantees, but holy shit. Cardinals won't be playing in this edge market. They just won't.
Why would they? Let them all do it. Let them all just spend like crazy and go belly up. Like, first of all, where did the Bills get all this money all of a sudden? Like, they're throwing it at Von Miller, who will get you like 10 sacks next season because he doesn't like the cold. He doesn't like the Buffalo cold. Let me tell you that much. Yeah. Denver cold and Buffalo cold are two different colds. Let me tell you. Second, now they're building like a $4 billion stadium or some shit out in Buffalo. Like, where are they putting this, by Niagara Falls? Jesus.
No idea. That is, it's a lot of
120. Oh my God.
So
that's confirmed. 6-year deal for 120 for Von Miller.
Oh my God.
All right. So here's the
thing. Does anybody in the chat think that Chandler Jones in his deal and Von Miller in his deal are worth it and wish that the Cardinals would have paid that to keep either one? Does anybody in the chat think that?
I think Chandler's better than Von Miller, but
I would probably say they're about the same, yeah.
You think so? Okay. So they re-signed Max Williams. They have not done anything else. Fans are frustrated. I think that at this point, I put this on Twitter. Let me get your thought on this. And I forgot about defensive tackle when I did it. Full transparency. I think the two biggest needs on this team are a premier edge rusher and a number 2 corner. What are your thoughts on that? Premier edge rusher, number 2 corner, or number 2 receiver. I'm sorry.
I was like, dude, we just got a number 2 corner.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Premier edge rusher, number 2 receiver.
I'm going to go back to this over and over again. They need a premier edge rusher and they need a defensive tackle.
Okay.
We need to shore up the defensive line. I am tired of watching butt-ass running backs like the Rams have go for 5 to 7 yards a pop in the playoffs or during the end of the season. Like, we got to stop that. It all started with Dalvin Cook in like week 2 or 3 at home, and it just never stopped the entire season. Teams were just running roughshod basically all year long because we didn't have dudes to plug up those holes. Yeah. Cleveland was a different story. I thought they played very well at Cleveland, but the run was a problem all year. We need a run stopping defensive tackle. Please, 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 please. And then we needed an edge rusher. I actually think that you can manufacture pressure from time to time, obviously, and Vance Joseph tries to do that. But man, I think the defensive tackle is actually more of a priority than the edge rusher. I know everybody wants the edge rusher. They want to put pressure on the quarterback. They want to see sacks, blah, blah, blah. But if you keep getting your freaking teeth knocked in every single Sunday by the run, it doesn't matter how good your edge rushers are because you can't stop the run. So teams are just going to run all day.
And Chandler Jones was a diminishing player against everything but generating a pass rush. And you could make an argument, as Saul has had many, many times on this show, on this program, that in the biggest of games, he did not show up. And so if you think of it based on that and the fact that he had 5 sacks in his first game and then subsequently had like 6.5, 7 sacks the rest of the season over the course of the next 16 games, I think that the biggest concern for me is just going into next season without a sure thing. They have 2 premier picks that they could add an edge rusher. There are some depth guys in free agency. Nobody of note. Somebody like Melvin Ingram or Justin Houston, Jadeveon Clowney. Clowney's a great run defender, but he's not a pass rusher anymore. So they could make a trade. Everson Griffin, although I don't know why the Vikings would trade him. We'll see what Steve Keim does. He has been uncharacteristically quiet, which is not his thing. This first week of free agency, usually he's guns a-blazing with moves, transactions, not even huge contracts, but acquisitions. And this week has been about, outside of Jeff Gladney, which I feel like is a special circumstance, they have been about cutting players and re-signing their own. They are on track right now to get 3 comp picks, a 3rd, a 5th, and a 6th. Real quick with Chandler Jones, because he's a 10-year vested veteran, the comp pick's only a shitty 5th round pick. So that was disappointing. But this just feels like an offseason where they're just going to play their cards close to their vest and look to dumpster dive.
Listen, Johnny, let me talk to you for a second there, son.
Okay. What have we been doing? Have we not been talking?
We have a team that went 11-6 during the regular season and then got blown up in the playoffs. Yeah. I understand that the second part of the year, things kind of fell apart. Okay. But you're hoping if you're the Cardinals that the former rather than the later was more of who you are. The 10-2 team was more reflective than the 1-5 team down the stretch. Okay. That's what you're hoping for. And I think that if all things considered and everybody's healthy, that is what you have. Yeah. So you need to add pieces to this team that make sense, that don't put you in some kind of cap casualty, because you got a lot of money to free up and you'll have a lot of money in the cap next year to be able to add some maybe higher end pieces, and there'll be better players possibly open on the market. Yeah. So you got to play this smart. And I know everybody wants to win a championship every single year, but again, I'm going to keep telling you, Michael Bidwell wants to win a championship. Okay. I don't think that's debatable. I think everybody agrees with that. You know, they keep swinging for fences every now and then. That tells you that there's still an interest in being elite. But at the end of the day, what you don't want to do is be a 6-11 team or a 5-12 team. At the worst, you got to be 8-9, 9-8 to keep everybody's interest with the team and to keep the thing moving in a positive direction. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to do this. And then if they see an opportunity to make it big time and make a big move that makes sense fiscally for this team and moves the needle a little bit, they will. Julio Jones right now, and let's go ahead and get into it. Julio Jones right now, I don't know if there's a player out there right now with anybody that I look at and I'm like, that seems like a logical fit, because D-Hop said he would have maneuvered his contract just to get Julio a season or two ago. We just brought in battle-tested old man Green, who doesn't know how to turn around last year. And I think Julio Jones would be a slight upgrade over AJ Green. Plus, people love the Valley. Why not? It makes sense. It makes sense.
I'm gonna go on the record and say no to Julio Jones.
Julio Jones is on the downward end of his career. I don't think he has a lot left in the tank. But if you're talking about one more year, that's what they did with AJ Green.
Yeah, but look how that ended. He started off the season well, and then he was on fumes. And at least for AJ Green, I mean, he was healthy and he played. Julio Jones, you're going to be investing money very similar to Jordan Phillips, to a guy who's never healthy, who misses too much time. Rafa in the chat, I would much rather allocate funds to somebody under 30 years old, like an Allen Robinson. The problem with this organization, I don't want Juju. I'm going to be just an old 34-year-old man. I don't like the TikTok stuff. I don't think he's all in on football.
Oh my God.
I think he's too much of a me guy. And I think his rookie year was an outlier. I don't think he's any good. I don't like these free agent receivers very much. I like this draft class more. The problem with this organization is they have not shown an ability to draft receivers at a high level. They're fine. Like any of these guys on a 1-year deal, fine, whatever. But I wouldn't invest too much money. Robinson's probably the only one that strikes my interest of like a 2 or 3 year deal. But he better sign quickly. I mean, the money's going to dry up here pretty soon. For a lot of these teams, they're gonna wait this out. Trent Baalke in Jacksonville skewed the market so much that a lot of these teams are just saying, we're not going to mess with the receiver market. So
Julio Jones and AJ Green are actually the same age. I did not know that. Somebody pointed that out in the chat.
They're old. They're old dudes.
But Julio Jones in the last couple of years has been injury riddled. So you think, maybe he doesn't have as much wear on the tires, but he did so much in that 5, 6, 7 year stretch that, it's probably over for him.
It is. Cardinals, this is an off season. We're going to judge it at face value. They are accumulating comp picks and they are calculated. And right now,
you know what? I just hope the Cardinals make a move, because I just feel like you're on the verge of just absolutely going into a shell for the rest of the summer.
No, I'm not.
And you're just going to be super sad and depressed, and like look at you, you're a mess right now. Like you just don't want. You're like, oh my God, we're in the hole again.
Well, they're a worse team on paper right now than they were last year. That can't be disputed.
So early still. You're still working on things.
I'm judging you on face value. You are worse than last year. And here's what else that pisses me off. If this team had a track record of drafting well and playing the rookies right away, we'd feel infinitely different. They are a poor drafting team. That can't be disputed. They do not play their rookies for the most part. So as we get closer to the draft and these holes are more apparent, like I don't trust them until they prove otherwise. They've hit on Kyler Mury and Budda Baker as their only Pro Bowl players of the last 3 or 4 years. That's it. So I have to see it change philosophically. Maybe this is the start of it. Maybe they're trying to accumulate more draft picks. Maybe they got a trade in mind. People are knocking on me because of the TikTok thing. That was semi tongue-in-cheek. Like I would not sign him because of the TikTok thing. I just think he's kind of a little bit of a jagweed. I don't think he's that good. And I think all the extra stuff. Yeah. You just kind of like a little bit too much for my taste. I want somebody who
want my guys to come out here and just play hard. That's all I want. I want them to just go. Do
we want Juju Smith with all of his off the field distractions via technology and electronics to go with Kyler? Kyler likes video games. I'm not into that. What?
Johnny, he's a normal fucking guy. He's a normal guy.
They need live stream a locker room deal. Johnny is negative because that's true. That's true. I am negative. I'm scorned and I'm scarred from prior draft classes. Juju's fine. They signed Juju tomorrow. I'll look up all the Juju highlights and we'll be good.
I don't want nobody because they're on TikTok. That's what
Just
Johnny
as long as PHNX doesn't ask me to do another TikTok. I want to remind everybody, check out gophnx.com. We've got phenomenal content as we approach the NCAA tournament. Back
That's
in
right,
the A,
baby.
Mr. Bookman and Mr. Iron Mike Luke of PHNX Wildcats will be in San Diego for the NCAA tournament. You want to make sure you're locked in. Go PHNX, PHNX Sports on Twitter. I'm going to be locked in. Are you leaving tomorrow or are you leaving Friday?
Leaving tomorrow morning, super early.
All right. So me and Frank, the great Frank Standers, makes his return tomorrow. We're going to dive into all of this stuff, get Frank's take and opinion.
Oh,
So,
Frank has been itching to give
chomping.
some opinions on these topics for sure.
Chomping at the bit. Maybe we'll get breaking news between now and then. Probably not, the way this week has gone. I feel like, get your opinion on this quickly, and then we can go. This Deshaun Watson thing is holding everything up. I feel like all the moves, everything with, like, they're saying the Saints and the Falcons, everybody's waiting for Deshaun to make his decision, and then everybody's going to decide where they're going to go. Do you think there's some truth to that?
I mean, no, not really.
Okay. All right. I'm just shit all over my point then as we end this show.
Fuller, I know the rumor is like Fuller wants to team back up with
Armstead, the tackle, may not go back to the Saints unless Watson's there. The Falcons are trying to bring in a bunch of receiver help. This quarterback market is going to be interesting. If you're a Cardinal fan, you should want Deshaun to end up with the Falcons because that muddies the waters further for the 49ers to get anything for Jimmy Garoppolo, because suddenly now Baker Mayfield's available. Matt Ryan would be available. If he goes to the Saints, it clears the pathway for Jimmy to go to Cleveland. I just want the Niners to kind of be held hostage by Jimmy in this whole thing. I think it's like low-key hilarious, but supposedly we should have an answer from Deshaun here in the next 24 hours.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Pretty wild. Keep us in mind when you like, subscribe, join our family at PHNX, gophnx.com. Leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Loved having our guy, Keith Sanchez, on. We will be back tomorrow, 4 p.m., myself and Cardinal great Frank Sanders. Saul, safe travels, my guy.
Appreciate you.
See you, friends.